This is Rob Temple for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, joined here today by Eddie Hearn. We're at the Prograis Taylor Chisora Price press conference here in London. How are you, Eddie?
Good. I haven't changed much from about 12 hours ago when you last interviewed me, but very good, thank you.
Things can happen in a short space of time in boxing, as we found out last night with Devin Haney's announcement. Talk to me about the process of him being elevated to full WBC champion.
Look, I think the WBC are doing so many good things. I'm not in agreement about the franchise project, situation, ruling, whatever you want to call it. Devin Haney wants to fight Vasily Lomachenko. You know, he is now officially WBC world champion, which is great. You know, but of course he wanted to win it off Vasily Lomachenko. It's not his fault, and you know, it's not a pop at the WBC. But I just don't understand. Like, how can you achieve greatness without being able to get your shot at greatness? Do you know what I mean? So Devin now has to do all the, you know, has to achieve greatness through his opposition, you know, and make sure that he's in those kind of fights that people will say, yeah, he's a legitimate world champion. He is a legitimate world champion, but he hasn't yet had that breakout victory that you dream of when you stand there and you say, and no, and we all go mad because he's knocked out Vasily Lomachenko, you know? But it is what it is. He's world champion, and now we have to go on and let him create his legacy.
Is that not, regret is probably the wrong word, but it's not an ideal situation. I mean, not winning the title in the ring and having that kind of breakout moment is not ideal from a promotional point of view. Would you agree?
No, yeah, I agree. I mean, it's not ideal from a dream point of view. When you win that world title, you want it to be that moment where, you know, you're in there and you jump on the ropes and his dad comes into the ring. But he is world champion, you know, that's the situation. So, and he's worked very, very hard to get there. And like I said, he won't be, you know, we know he's boxing on November 9, be a solid opponent, but 2020, you'll see Devin Haney in big fights in the division where you can genuinely say he is established as a world champion. You know, I think, again, it's not something that we canvassed for. We said we want the mandatory to be made with Vasily Lomachenko, and we want that to be ordered. Once they make him WBC franchise champion, you can't get to them. And that's, you know, where is the incentive for a young fighter to try and climb himself up the rankings, get to that mandatory position, to fight Canelo, to fight Vasily Lomachenko? You know, because you can't reach these guys anymore unless you're picked, and you're not going to be picked if you're a great fighter, or unless the fight is too big to be ignored.
So with that being said, does that make the Lomachenko fight more difficult to make, more unlikely to make?
I mean, the good thing about Vasily Lomachenko is he likes challenges. You know, if the public believes that the Devin Haney-Vasily Lomachenko fight is a great fight and the fight to make, and by the way, they do already, but, you know, we need more pressure, then I believe he'll take that challenge. I do. But, you know, he chased Lomachenko. You know, when we decided to go down the WBC route, franchise champion weren't really existing. He wanted Vasily Lomachenko. So I said, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to get you in a mandatory position for Vasily Lomachenko. We did that. Now he turns into WBC world champion. I mean, good for him, you know. As you can imagine, he gets paid more for being a WBC world champion. So he's, you know, his contract just looks even more sweeter. But it's really now, it's not a problem for Devin, because he's going to be in these big fights where you're going to legitimately say he is a world champion. But right now, it's just the frustration of having people saying, well, you're not a world champion. Well, you are a world champion. How you got there wasn't ideal, but it is what it is.
WBC have made Javier Fortuna versus Jesus Cuellar as the mandatory. So once Devin Haney, provided he comes through November 9th safely, will that be his next fight after that?
Probably. I mean, again, like, that's a bit frustrating because he wants to be going out, and no disrespect to those guys, they're good fighters, by the way. But, you know, he wants to be fighting the Luke Campbells, the Jorge Linareses, etc. So, by the way, he will also move to 140 in the not too distant future. You know, I'm not talking about after November, but probably middle of next year. I think he's going to be looking to move to 140. But now he's a world champion at 135, so he's got something to defend. He's got something that's very relevant, and he can be in big fights.
Explain to me if you can. I mean, I spoke to Mauricio about this a couple of times in the last couple of months, really, and I still don't quite get it with the whole franchise. And I mean, Lomachenko's spoken about wanting to become undisputed champion, but now Haney has the WBC. Would Lomachenko have to get all of the other belts and then fight Haney to be considered to be undisputed?
I think so. I mean, when we were talking about Canelo fighting Andre, when they announced him as franchise champion, people started telling me that Demetrius Andrade against Canelo was no longer an undisputed fight. So then Lomachenko against the winner of Comey against Lopez cannot be an undisputed fight. But Lomachenko wants to be an undisputed champion. So exactly, it's very confusing and it's quite off-putting for people who don't. I mean, we're supposed to be in the business and we don't understand it.
Dillian Whyte was also a prominent feature in the WBC convention out in Cancun. Said that he'll be given his mandatory slot, providing all being well with UCAD, after, let me try and make sure I get this right, Wilder Ortiz, then Wilder Fury. Is there going to be a Wilder Fury third fight in there somewhere?
I'm very confused by that, and it's only something that I saw. Our legal team and everybody, our representatives, are at the convention. Obviously I couldn't be there because of this show. But we already have a resolution to make Dillian Whyte the mandatory to the Fury Wilder winner, which is in February. So now we're actually the mandatory to the winner of a couple more fights in 2021. So it's something I've got to look into. I don't want to comment too much about it, but it's a complete contradiction to the ruling that was already made. So I have to look at it in more detail.
And Mauricio, as part of the WBC statement, or the WBC as part of their statement, said that once Dillian's situation with UCAD would be resolved, then they could kind of look at it then. Are we any closer to having that resolved?
It's not something I'm involved with. I'm waiting. I was told it would be dealt with by the end of October, which is about a week's time. And, I hope everybody hurries up, because I'm sick of having to answer questions about it. I just want a statement to be out there, let him get on with his career. But we've seen how long they take on these things. And it's worrying for the sport that these things take so long. I guess I can't really comment until UCAD comment, which I hope is very, very soon.
But you would be able to fight in America or outside the UK, right?
Can fight in the UK. He's not banned. He's not suspended. He was cleared to box, and he's cleared to box now, tomorrow. There's no ban, no question whether he can fight in Britain or anywhere in the world. But I still want a statement to be released, because it's still that cloud, and I think it's best for everybody if that gets resolved as soon as possible.
And just staying with that, with the WBC saying that they wanted to get it cleared up first, does that mean it has to be cleared up before the WBC will allow him to box as a mandatory contender, or would the WBC be open to him boxing abroad?
I haven't seen the statement. In my opinion, the WBC can't really not allow Dillian Whyte to fight when he's allowed to fight by every commission in the world. So I'm not sure. I have to read through it in more detail and speak to our lawyers.
It's all very confusing. Eddie Hearn, as always, real pleasure. Thanks for speaking to Boxing Social.
Cheers, mate.